Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. And we've got one more cold front to deal with before we can get into a really nice dry air mass for the weekend. And once again, we're looking at a situation where we're dealing with a convective system that's going to have a fairly large area of downpours and thunderstorms with it. So the rainfall forecast amounts are in the order of 1 to 2 inches. Now, there's a lot less for, say, southeastern New England and eastern Long Island. The numbers start to pick up once you go inland of the coast, and you see an area of 1.5 to 2.5 inches in northeastern Pennsylvania, northwest New Jersey, on up into the Catskills. Remember, folks, two things. One is the threshold for flash flooding is pretty low because of all the wet weather of the last 2 weeks. And also the fact that because we're dealing with thunderstorms, if a couple of heavy thunderstorms sit over one area over a long period of time, then you're going to wind up seeing some of these 1 and 2 inch plus amounts being much more, could conceivably be double in some places. This is how it's worked out with just about every front that we've seen in the last couple of weeks that has brought through some rain. Meanwhile, waiting to see whether they put flood watches up, and at least as of 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, we have them up for upstate New York and for the state of Vermont, but the rest of the area they haven't pulled the trigger yet at Mount Holly, nor have they pulled the trigger at the OKX Upton on Long Island, nor has Boston. So we're just going to wait and see what they do. But we should note that the Weather Prediction Center for tonight has a slight risk for flash flooding in a small portion of northwest New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, the northeastern quarter of Pennsylvania, and also into parts of south central New York State, and will include the Catskills in that zone. And then tomorrow, we are seeing the slight risk that actually got expanded southward down to the Delmarva Peninsula. Slight risk being a 15 to as high as 40% probability that there is going to be some flash flooding. So this kind of sets up with the weather system from a few days ago. Also, should note, I'm just going to go back one. We do have flash flood risks for areas in the Tennessee Valley and the lower Ohio Valley. There's even a moderate risk for flash flooding being indicated for parts of central and eastern Tennessee, also back into western Kansas and eastern Colorado. So that's a 40 to 70% probability that we could see some flash flooding. And the Storm Prediction Center is showing a slight to enhanced risk from the southeast up the west side of the Appalachians. It turns into an enhanced risk in northern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and southeastern Michigan. Also seeing slight to enhanced risk in the southern and central plains. And there's elevated tornado risk as well tonight, up to 5% in southeastern Michigan and northwest Ohio, and a fairly large area of 2% that we could see some spin-ups. Also 2 to 5% in that enhanced area that we looked at in eastern Colorado down into Kansas and over into the Florida Panhandle. Now, tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center has expanded the area of marginal risk. It actually matches up very well with the flash flood slight risk zone. So isolated severe thunderstorms are forecast. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a slight risk being added to this when we see the updated forecast overnight and tomorrow morning. The marginal risk covering New York central and eastern New York, Vermont, much of New Hampshire, half of Massachusetts, just about all of Connecticut and Long Island, New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and down into northeastern Virginia. And we also have a slight risk from Georgia northwestward into northern Mississippi and into east central Arkansas. So going to be kind of busy with this weather system over a fairly large geographic area. And then we can start to look ahead to Saturday, where for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, excuse me, there's no thunderstorm risk, and that's good news. So we did catch a break today in the dew points. If you're north of this stationary frontal boundary, the dew points fell into the low 60s and in some cases even into the 50s, which is nice. It's not going to last because just to the south, we've got dew points in the mid to upper 60s, and that air is coming northeastward ahead of this low that's in northern Michigan and the trailing cold front that runs south to Chicago and continues southward there through Illinois and central Missouri and back through the state of Kansas. Looking at the satellite loop, some hefty thunderstorms right now as of 4:10 Eastern Time, moving through parts of Tennessee and into southern Kentucky. Looks like some of those are moving into North Georgia. But the Northeast and Mid Atlantic states are enjoying a fairly nice day overall. With just some clouds starting to roll in. There's actually some lightning strikes showing up with an isolated thunderstorm that has popped up in northern Delaware. Right there, you see it, and it looks like it might even be past peak. Check out the radar at the moment. Here's the complex that is producing numerous severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings across Tennessee that is moving southeastward. We've just got some scattered stuff, as we pointed out, with what was showing up on the satellite. Again, that cell looks like it's falling apart. Some echoes showing up in southern New Jersey. Might not be producing too much there, and another isolated thunderstorm on the Delmarva Peninsula. Numerous severe thunderstorms in parts of southeastern Michigan. So all of this is what we're waiting for to play through tonight. Now, the European has been doing really well the last couple of weeks with these systems, so I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be the case again. We will look for some showers, downpours, and thunderstorms coming in sometime, say, after midnight in eastern Pennsylvania, maybe about 2 a.m. along the coast. And then that front's going to temporarily get hung up with some downpours and thunderstorms tomorrow morning into the afternoon. They start to taper off into the evening. And then the big payoff is the weekend, because we're going to see drier air come into the eastern part of the United States and actually spread pretty far south into areas in the deep south. Dew points down in the 50s, which is great. So we're talking about a low humidity air mass. It'll be a warm air mass with temperatures over the weekend probably in the 80s in the eastern part of the United States, but those dew points are going to make things very comfortable. We're going to have a nice weekend for a change with no rain. And then the next cold front may approach late on Monday with some afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Looks like mostly in inland areas rather than the coast. And then I think we're going to transition into very warm to hot conditions later next week. May be a while before the next cold front comes through. It might not come through until the end of next week. So going to get some hot weather perhaps, but doesn't look like a whole lot in the way of thunderstorms that we'll have to deal with. All right, so we will have the Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So mark it down, and we'll see you then.